Okay, awesome. We're going to go ahead and get started here. So today's webinar presentation is New Tech and Big Gains with HP Latex. So in today's webinar, we're going to go over the difference between the 700, 800 series printers and the brand new 730, 830 printers. There's 5 categories within the new changes of this evolution of HP Latex. You know, the 700, 800 series printers, the 730, 830 included in that, is generation 4 HP Latex. And HP, every time they launch a machine, they always keep continuing to grow that machine until the next level comes out. So personally, I'm really excited to see generation 5 Latex, but it's probably going to be a good 5 to 7 years until that hits the market. So we wanted to take a minute here to celebrate the improvements between the 700, 800 series printer, 730, 830 printer. We're focused on a couple key categories here. As we're going through this presentation live on camera, the reason you guys attend these webinar presentations is so you have the ability to ask questions in real time. We got 2 of our experts, Grimco's hardware software sales experts, on the line with us. So please fire those questions into the Q&A. We can get those questions answered live in real time, or maybe they can jump in and ask the questions live to me on camera. But I'm also joined today with a special guest from HP. Tom Giglio is going to join me here live on camera, and we're going to go through this presentation and talk about the really cool features of the new 730 and 830 series printer. Tom, you want to take a second to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Sure. Thanks, Neil, and welcome everybody. I'm very, very pleased to be here today. I'm Tom Giglio, the Latex Business Segment Manager here in North America. Always enjoy working with Neil, and happy to be here today.
Yeah, awesome. Really good we met virtually, Tom, instead of you having to travel all the way here to Chicago. Now you're so far away from us now.
Right, it's not that far.
Not at all. So, all right, well, let's launch into it. The first thing I wanted to talk about, the new improvement with the 730, 830, is the printhead technology. You know, the printheads of an HP Latex has been one of those game-changing systems that have been played for a long time. HP utilizes user-changeable printheads. The printhead I'm holding in my hand is an 831 printhead. So this is the printhead technology that was utilized during the Generation 3 printers. So this is your HP Latex 300 series, 100 series, 500 series printer. HP has still stuck with those user-changeable printheads when they had the 700, 800 series printers. But what they did differently with the new 730, 830 is they launched a printhead that is universal. So my coloring on there, I'm always holding samples upside down in front of the camera. My coloring on my printheads now doesn't get its indicated color until I install it in my machine. The previous versions of printheads, you had to have extra printheads on hand, have one of those colors on hand. 4 or 5 different printheads based on how much readiness you needed or wanted to have in your shop. With the new printhead technology, it's a universal color. So all of my 6 colors, light cyan, light magenta, my yellow, black, those don't get indicated until I put it in my machine. So that means less inventory on hand. The beauty of HP Latex's user replaceable printhead systems, when the printhead goes down, it goes down on every printer. You just never know when. You're not at the mercy of a technician to come out to gut your machine. It's an end user replaceable system. Pull out the old one, drop in a new one. The machine will go through automatic calibrations. You can then go through a color calibration, and you're printing within minutes as part of that system. The printheads are part of a consumable system with HP. So with the printers, there's 3 consumable systems. You have your ink, you have your printheads, there's a maintenance cartridge, which we're going to talk about next. Normal course of business, you're paying for these printheads as you use them. They're meant to be consumable items, which brings us to an important point about the warranty. The previous warranty of the 831 printheads was 1,000 milliliters, and it had an expected life of somewhere between 4,000 and 6,000 milliliters. With the new printheads, we increased the warranty and the expected life. So now the warranty of these new printheads is 1,500 milliliters. The expected life also jumped up to about 6,000 to 8,000 milliliters. That doesn't mean that, hey, 8,000 milliliters, a big alert's going to come up on your printer saying, hey, printhead's met its end of life, swap it out now. You can certainly print with an HP Latex printer that has 20, 30,000 milliliters fired through it. This is a thermal jet printhead. So the only problem with an older printhead, a printhead that's kind of long in the tooth, is the color consistency may not be what you expected or what you would receive out of a newer printhead. So if you're one of those shops that is doing color dependent jobs often, you're doing printed Pantone colors, or you're doing solid fill wall murals where you want one tile to match the other one, an older printhead may not fire as accurately as a newer printhead and give you those expected results. the neat thing about the HP system is I have complete visibility to how many individual milliliters have been fired out of each individual print head, and I can make those educated decisions about when to replace a print head or when it's needed as part of the regular routine usage of my machine. Tom, you got anything that I missed on print head explaining that process? Any key benefits the end user would
No, I think you
realize
got
a
pretty
benefit
much
from?
everything. You know, one of the things that we did in changing from the 831s is we increased the nozzle depth from 2112 nozzles to over 3100 nozzles. So a lot of that redundancy that gives extra performance and extra stability is found on the new print head. And, you know, those are the types of things that you can do when you own the print head development. So these are print heads that we actually develop in Corvallis, Oregon. And we've been very happy with them since we've been using them for about 4 or 5 years now.
Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, in addition to having, 2,000 nozzles up to about 3,000 nozzles, every time I make a pass with my print head now, I'm laying down that much more ink. You know, that speed, ink density, temperature, each pass now with the new print head technology can lay down that much more ink. The pixel size too, I guess the dot size of ink that comes out of them, the previous version had a 12-point drop of ink that came out. The new print heads can jet a 10-point droplet, and they used a paired nozzle technology as well, which gives us better color consistency, better, more predictable firing. We're going to chat a little bit later about some of those improvements too, but all that printhead technology kind of plays into that, doesn't it, Tom?
It does. It delivers a lot more applications, delivers finer text, and enables people to print more things than they were able to do before.
Okay, awesome. Well, so on to the next consumable item that we have with HP is the end user replaceable printhead. Or I'm sorry, not the end user, the maintenance cartridge that's inside the machine. So this maintenance cartridge, I thought it'd be good to have it pulled out of the machine already. It lives inside my printer right around here, and this is responsible for cleaning those print heads as it's going through its print process. With this device right here, the end user does absolutely zero daily maintenance to their machine. HP Latex is a water-based ink formula that is cured through high heat curing, which means it's very stable at room temperature. And so this maintenance cartridge basically just does a decapping, a scraping of the underside of those print heads to remove any ink that kind of builds up on there through the normal overspray printing process. And this allows the machine to be fully self-maintaining. HP has improved upon this. This has existed in a similar form in the previous machines, but HP has improved upon this system by separating the little bit of fluid that is used during the cleaning cycle into an ink collection unit. So now when the machine goes through its regular cleaning cycles, when it does its initial ink fill up, that ink doesn't just sit here in the bottom of the tray like it did previously. It's captured into this changeable ink collection unit, which during normal course of business allows the wiper unit, the tissue cassette, to take up more space inside here, which eliminates or reduces the amount of times that this gets changed out, because we're separating the fluid from the wiper portion of the machine. The other neat thing, whole reason behind HP Latex print, in my mind in general, is sustainability. We want to reduce the amount of plastics that are in the world. We want to use a environmentally friendly, non-VOC, harmful air pollutant ink out there. That's what Latex delivers. With this new ink collection unit and using the wiper unit, the tissue cassette, more frugally, we're putting less single-use plastics in here. So this is definitely going to save the end user money, as well as keep some plastics out of the container or out of the dumpster. So when this thing fills up and you're good to go, you can cap this off, and it captures all that fluid, traps all that fluid inside here, dispose of it like you would any other waste ink, or dispose of ink inside here responsibly, contact somebody. But then this portion of the machine, or this portion of the cassette, can then be shipped back to HP through the Planet Partners portal. And then these plastics aren't single-use plastics. They get disposed of. Tissue wiper gets taken out, disposed of properly, but then all the plastics get sent back and repurposed. Kind of a neat way of really saving the planet, being responsible, but then reducing your overall consumables inside the machine. All right, so the next portion of the HP Latex 730, 830 that we want to highlight is our print zone airflow. So really neat thing with the latex printers, for those of you who've had a Generation 3, Generation 2 HP latex printer, the curing module now raises up out of the way. This thing is like the car doors of a DeLorean. Having things pulled out of the way gives me better access to the components inside here. It makes my loading process easier. Any little bit of routine maintenance that I do, cleaning my encoder strip, moving my carriage rails, everything is now accessible. But the part I wanted to point out with the 730, 830 that was a big improvement over the 700, 800 series printers, dramatic improvement over the Gen 3 printers, is the print zone airflow. So these fans that are above my print zone here begins the heating process. And so, Tom, what have these done for us as far as improving our print? Like, where do we see the most dramatic increase with the print zone airflow?
Well, the airflow does two things. The first thing that it needs to do is it needs to evaporate the water that carries all the pigment particles to the media. So that's job number one. Job number two is it needs to cure the actual latex resin copolymer, which is a latex agent. So when you have more airflow, you have more efficiency. So in modes where you're putting down more color, especially in higher pass count modes for color, and then for the white printers where you're having overflood modes, you're creating more efficiency so you can print faster. So that's one of the big improvements, especially on the white units, is that we've increased the efficiency on some of those white modes by about 30%. And that's just because of those extra fans.
In particular, the ability to print 3-layer printing and 5-layer printing.
Correct.
That's where we really kicked it up. And I wanted to hold a couple of prints up to the camera to show. So this is a clear static cling printed with an HP Latex, and it's printed color white color. And so it's the same image front to back, but it's a mirror image when I print it on the back side. So this was printed on one side of the material. The machine segments those print heads, prints with the leading edge of color, the middle edge of my my white print heads to give me that diffusion layer in between my 2 layers of color, and then the trailing edge of color. It's splitting those print heads. And so the improved airflow temperature control inside here allows me to print at faster speeds when I'm doing those multi-layer, 3-layer prints, to be able to cure or partially cure the layer before it stacks the next layer of ink on top of it. So 3-layer printing is really incredible. You could use it for some window displays, but your image isn't going to view correctly on both sides. You're always going to have a backwards reading image on one side. But HP has another feature, 5-layer printing, that does allow you to print a completely different image front to back. So this is some clear material. It's an easy dot material, makes installation on the window nice and easy. But by printing with 5-layer, that improved airflow speed on there, I can print a completely different image front to back. So this allows 5 layers, segmenting those print heads into 5 completely different sections. Even with the improved airflow, this is a very slow speed, but the beauty of it, there's 0 labor involved for me producing this. This is one of those jobs you queue your machine up, let it run overnight. Printer just keeps printing, stacking those 5 layers on. So really quite an improved workflow on there. So that multi-layer stacking white ink, colored ink, and multi-layer is really a game changer with this printer. Tom, there's not many other printers on the market that can do that 3-layer, 5-layer quite as well as HP. Would you agree?
No, it's a pretty unique product. I mean, some printers have the capability to do that, but when you add everything up at the end, because latex is so thin, it doesn't change the appearance of the media. So that easy dot material doesn't really change. It doesn't get embossed. You're not stacking a lot of ink on it, and when you deliver the product, it's of the utmost quality.
Yeah, no, it still has that stickery quality to it. It still moves like a sticker. Because really what we're talking about there is UV ink. You were to do the same process with a UV-based ink technology, this is going to be almost like a board. It's going to be so stiff. You're then squeegeeing this onto a window, or the end user squeegeeing it onto a window. It doesn't apply like a sticker would want to apply. This other sample I had held up earlier, the reason it doesn't lay flat, I always love to show how this material stretches. That latex ink is such a great bond to that substrate. And this is 3 layers of ink that I'm stretching here, and I'm not getting chipping, cracking. If I use this in some sort of application where I need to line up multiple panels and I had to stretch and shrink my vinyl to make it happen, maybe go around a complex curve for some reason, the latex ink is going to allow me to have this still act like a vinyl would want to act for an installation process. Really kind of amazing with the HP Latex ink. So the next piece I wanted to show is a little harder to get to, but you can kind of make it out right here. HP has improved upon the media travel through the machine. And so the most easy one to see here is in the curing module itself. So the material travels across my print platen and then down through my curing module. And so what HP did here was they included ramps into my curing module. So speed, ink density, temperature is always the recipe that allows HP Latex to cure during the printing process. The problem is when I have a leading edge of material trying to go through this stainless steel platen with hot air and things going back and forth, that leading edge had a tendency to want to stick to the platen on its way out. And so the previous models, 700 and 800 series, the end user had to feed out a decent amount of leading edge so that it wouldn't get hung up inside my print zone. But now with these ramps that HP has added in here, with a lot more materials, I can print right from the pinch wheels, saving myself a significant amount of material every time I run a job. Now, granted, you're running a full roll of material, wasting a foot or two is not the end of the world. But a shop that's doing a lot of quick changeover, I'm running a banner, then I'm running some self-adhesive vinyl, then I'm running a backlit film. If you're running short little run jobs here and there, swapping your machine out, which is great, it's what the machine's intended to do. But if you're having to waste a foot or 2 feet of material every time you load the machine, it gets a little tedious over time. And so now with these ramps inside the curing zone, my leading edge of my material, rather than hitting at a 90 degree to that platen, is now hitting ramps, and it breaks that leading edge so that a lot more material can run through there without causing the potential for a print head jam. Really kind of a neat setup on here. Tom, do you want to take a minute and talk about the OMOS Plus system inside the machine?
Sure. Yeah. One of the features of latex that's really nice is the way that we control under or over advancement of the media. And whenever you have over under advancement, you're getting some kind of banding. So let's just say you put in a full roll in the printer, it may struggle to pull that full roll, and you may get some type of banding artifact. And then when the roll actually prints through the printer and starts rewinding, you may get a different type of banding. What the OMOS does is it monitors that, and then it corrects the over or under advancement, so everything is nice and smooth, whether it's at the beginning of a roll or at the end of a roll. But with this specific model, one of the cool things that we did is we also put a temperature sensor in. So we're actually looking at what our ink drop velocity is and our drop volume is. So panel to panel, color consistency is present, and then we also have length accuracy that's much more accurate. So the system benefits the user in just in a whole lot of different ways, Neil.
Yeah, no, perfect. And I wanted to pop the panel off here. This is my OMOS Plus system going on right inside here. It's embedded within the platen, so it's basically a camera aperture, a camera taking a picture of the material as it goes underneath. So this one vent has that camera aperture lens that lets me see the underside of the material. Lets that camera see the underside of the material. And this OMOS system existed in the previous generations, the 100, 300, 500 series printers, but much improved upon with the 700 and 730s. So we get accurate panel length feed. Obviously, the ultimate goal is to not have any banding. So it's synchronizing the advancement of the material with the printhead carriage going back and forth, but it needs to advance that material accurately over longer lengths so we can get correct panel length accuracy. But a much improved system. Like I was saying, the benefit of this thing coming up out of the way is I have access now to quickly clean all of these pieces, my platen pieces. If I'm always printing 54-inch or 60-inch material, I'm going to develop a little overspray. It's nice and easy now to clean it, but a super effective vacuum system all the way through that print zone to keep things held down and running nicely. So Tom, let's revisit back to printhead technology with the new universal printheads, and relates to pixel control. That's where the ink comes out of here.
Okay.
What is
Sure.
this? What is the pixel control system that HP has launched now with the new machines?
Well, actually, it's something that we've had for a while. We've had pixel control on our photographic printers for the longest time. Pixel control is a digital pipeline. It helps us get rid of a lot of things that are undesirable in a print. So, printers that lack in detail or contrast, or have problems with solids, or exhibit artifacts like dark light zone banding and things like that. Pixel control corrects a lot of that. And we've actually had pixel control around on the latex side since 2023. We put it on the 630 series, so that's been running on that printer for a couple of years now. But the 730 and 830 have pixel control, and what that really does is it's kind of like watching TV in HD. As we were growing up, TVs were a bit grainy, and they've gotten better over time. And then there were plasma TVs and LED TVs, and now you've got OLED TVs, and everything is down to a pixel layer. And that's kind of what we're doing on pixel control. So we're enabling people to get better detail, better quality, more uniform solids, deeper colors. We're taking advantage of our 4th generation inkset. One of the things about Gen 4 is the fact that we have such a high pigment load, because the chemistry is a lot simpler. So we're able to deliver that. And when you add the print heads that Neil talked about, and those just north of 3,000 nozzles, you get an exceptionally good image. And really a testament to that is when we were doing the beta testing, people that used to print in 12 pass now print in 8 pass. People that have printed in 16 pass are now printing in 12 pass. So about 85% of the total work that was done on all of our beta testing for this product line was done in either 12 or 8 pass. And really, the thing that's doing the heavy lifting there is pixel control.
Yeah. And to me, the biggest standout or most important thing that comes from pixel control, color consistency, and then sharp text. Like the text coming off with the 730, 830s, I mean, it's ridiculously sharp text. Even knockout text, where you have the white as your text and color all around it, really crisp. You can just notice a difference. Granted, we work in large format space. This stuff's supposed to be viewed at distance, but every time a customer picks up work, they are always looking at it at arm's length. So we got to have really good detail in there, because that's the first thing that they notice. So, Tom, we got a couple more minutes. I wanted to show another feature. I don't know if I'm able to get my camera around here well enough to do it justice. But on the side of the printhead carriage, in the previous models too, we've always had a spectrophotometer on there. I heard things have changed as far as the spectrophotometer is now an HP proprietary spectro on the side.
It is an HP device, kind of like the OMOS. We were talking about the OMOS a couple of minutes ago. One of the big things that we changed on the OMOS is that camera actually takes pictures a lot faster, and that's why the OMOS is delivering better accuracy for who's ever printing with a printer. We have our own spectrophotometer now, so we're able to control all the different color ramps. When we want to measure color, we're able to take more iterations of the color and make those color ramps smoother. So we're delivering more accurate colors, and we're delivering more repeatable colors through an enhanced spectro.
Okay, and that's one of the game changer systems that HP has in place, because we have user changeable print heads. You need to be able to calibrate or linearize or adjust color with your printer, even though you're swapping print heads. And that's what that spectrophotometer allows us to do, is to remain color accurate. So we have those brand recognized or repeatable jobs we do for our customers. We need our printer to be able to deliver a consistent output, and the spectrophotometer on the side allows us to do it. I want to take a second and share my screen to point out some resources available to all customers from Grimco.com. So if you scroll all the way to the bottom of our website, you'll see an equipment support link down there. It's also available here from equipment and then technical support. And so a couple options available to you here to get a hold of a Grimco technician. We have live chat that's available, goes directly to one of our Grimco technicians. So if you have a question on your machine, hey, how do I do such and such? You need help troubleshooting, you're having an issue, you're not sure, do I contact HP, do I contact Grimco? Reach out to either one of us, either through that live chat or through this submit a request section of our website. And again, live chat and this submit a request go to the exact same technicians. The biggest difference here is on the submit a request, you can upload a picture. Our technicians have seen it all. Sometimes a picture's worth 1,000 words. But then the other section from our website that's really useful and helpful is this equipment support hub. And so on this equipment support hub, we have articles, videos, some things published by HP, some things published by ourselves about the common issues, common questions, common problems that customers run into with printers. Very specific problems with very specific answers. So speaking about that spectrophotometer and the color calibration, we just launched 2 of these yesterday, producing the CLC, the closed loop color calibration process. And then the other video on there is all about creating a custom ICC profile. So if you want to hear more about that process, head over to Grimco.com. Again, you can go all the way to the bottom of our website, hit equipment support from here. or go through our equipment, and then it takes you to our support hub or contact our technicians. So we have lots of great resources available for our customers to get in action with their machines. We know if your machine's printing and you're loving it, you're going to be buying more inks and buying more material, and ultimately that's what we want. We want to help you grow your business and allow us to grow our business at the same time too. So if you guys have questions, if we've piqued your interest on this machine and you want to hear more about it, I would love to meet with you one-on-one. Contact your local sales rep and say, hey, saw Neil's webinar. That printer really sounds like it's going to be a great solution for my environment, but I want to hear a couple more things on it. Love to schedule a one-on-one demo with you. Head over to grimco.com, call your local sales rep. Our phone number is 1-800-542-9941. Reach out to your rep, get in touch, get together face-to-face with us. Dave, Julie, I hope everybody kept you busy answering questions. Sorry we weren't able to answer any questions live, unless I got 10 seconds for one, if you got a good one.
I don't know. We still have 149 people on, so if they want to stay on listening and learning more, I figure we keep going.
Okay. Yeah, fire away, Dave. What's some good questions?
A lot of people that are on this call have Gen 3.
Okay.
So I would dig in more into universal printhead and also the, what was the other one? Oh, the heat. I think that's an important difference between Gen 3 and Gen 4.
Yeah, no, 100%. I'll jump into that. And it's actually a real easy description, the difference between Gen 3 and Gen 4. It doesn't really, the printhead technology was part of it, but really it comes down to the ink chemistry. That was the big change between Gen 3 and Gen 4. So it's still a 6-color machine. I have CMYK, light cyan, light magenta. I still have optimizer, just like I had with the Gen 3 HP Latex printer. But that last box that I now have on my machine here is the big game changer. HP calls it overcoat. Overcoat existed in Generation 3, but it was mixed in with the ink chemistry. And so that was the big change with Generation 4 printers, was they separated the overcoat. So that the fluid, the resin copolymer that goes through that speed, ink, density, temperature process and protects the pigment, makes it scratch resistant. It's what allows me to print these interior wall murals without having to put lamination. I can get good outdoor durability because I have that overcoat in with the HP Latex ink. So Gen 4, it's a separate box of fluid. So what that does for me, it allows me to run faster, because now instead of just drying 2 layers of fluid, optimizer and ink with the overcoat mixed in, I'm now drying optimizer, pigment, and then overcoat on top. So my temperatures came down across the board about 30 to 40 degrees, so that speed, ink, density, temperature, those 3 pillars that you're always working with HP Latex, how much heat can the material withstand, how much ink can I put down and have it dry at a certain temperature. Those 3 pillars of speed, ink, density, temperature, that equation really changed, because now my temperature of my ink cures at a much lower temp. I can, not that I had a lot of materials I couldn't run through a Gen 3 printer, but some of those challenging, like window perf or papers, now are a lot easier to run at true production speeds. I can run them much faster. My standard self-adhesive vinyls, banner material, things that ran through a Gen 3 printer without any problems at all, I can now run much, much faster. But at the same time, I can run it with much greater color, because now that I have separated the overcoat from my regular pigment, I have more rocks in the box. My magenta ink in here has a richer pigment load than what a Gen 3 printer has. So now I'm able to achieve a brighter red, brighter yellow, more royal blue. Every color just became that much richer with a Gen 4 printer. How was that, Dave? Heck of an explanation, huh?
That was really long.
But wait, there's more. But wait, there's more. There's always more, Dave. White ink. We now have the ability to print with white ink. White ink was never an option with Gen 3 printers, and now we can print with white ink in here. So.
Yep. Other things that people had questions for is talk about the new pinch rollers on the 730 and the 830, please.
Gotcha. Yeah, so the pinch wheel system, see if I can get you in close enough to give it justice. The pinch wheel and grit roller system is much improved. So our media feed, when the media is running through here, part of that OMOS system, accurate panel length accuracy, is the interface between my material and the pinch wheel grit roller system needs to be a solid contact surface. So that has much improved on here. So feed issues aren't such a deal as they were with the 700, 800s. It was a kind of a new, completely different than what we had on the Gen 3 printers, and now it's been fixed as far as what was on the 7s and 8s. I can exert stronger squeeze pressure between the grit roller and pinch wheels than I could previously.
Next is please feel free to reach out to us. We are here to help you make good business decisions.
Absolutely.
Next, and we can also do a private one-on-one demo with Neil remotely, is profiling. You cannot do 3 or 5 layer profiling, correct?
Yeah, no, you can do profiling. I think what the question is ICC
Correct. That's
creation.
what I mean.
Yeah,
ICC.
you can build a profile because it is kind of neat. The 3-layer, 5-layer can be used for lots of different purposes. 5-layer, there's really only one set mode, but for 3-layer printing, I can vary the opacity of my white ink, based on how bright the light source is. If I have a shallow depth cabinet with bright lights, I want a richer opacity, a stronger diffusion layer. But then I can change the color layers too. I can have a stronger color on the inside, stronger color on the outside. So that's creating your profile. You can adjust your temperature, you can adjust your optimizer, your bleed levels, a whole bunch of things to create the profile. What you can't do is create a custom ICC. The ICC is that color math. So it's challenging for the spectrophotometer on board of the printhead carriage to accurately read those multi-layer prints. So with that, if you were doing custom color critical jobs and you wanted to make your machine as accurate as possible, being able to pull a digital file and have that color come out of your machine, you need an offline spectrophotometer and go through that color process. Tom, I didn't speak out of school on that one, did I? Did I nail that one?
No, you were good.
Okay.
You were good.
Sometimes I wonder, I start talking, saying things very confidently and wonder if I'm right.
No, the way to look at it always is that the calibration gives you the baseline, and the ICC gives you the accuracy. That's the recipe. But going back to Gen 4, I just want to say one thing about Gen 4, and I think, Neil, you captured this about as well as you could. The difference in gamut volume between Gen 4 and Gen 3 is somewhere between 10 and 15%. So folks that are going from a 360, 365, a Gen 3 machine to a Gen 4, you're going to see about a 10% increase in gamut volume, which means particularly reds, oranges, warmer tones, yellows, things like that, they're going to be more vibrant. And when they're more vibrant, you can run them faster. So that's when Neil talked about rocks in the box, I'm so happy that you actually used that phrase. That's what it delivers. It delivers more gamut volume.
Yeah, and I get the question from customers all the time that have a 365 or a 570, 560 series, and they're adding this to their arsenal, and they always want to ask, oh, can I run same job on this machine as I can on my other machine? It's like, no, the color on this machine is that much more vibrant. You'd be dumbing it down, making a whole bunch of color adjustments to have that match the 15% difference in gamut is significant. So, cool. Any other good ones, Dave?
A lot of people have asked about magnet, and what are the issues that the new machines, this in particular the 730 and the 830, that resolve over the predecessors? So, how thick of a magnet can we now run on the new machine? And then in detail, like, but even not just between Gen 3 and the Gen 4, but within the Gen 4 line, the improvements between the 700, 800 versus the current 730 and 830.
Yeah, so magnet is one of those amazing things that you'd love digitally printing, especially with latex ink, because it has some inherent scratch resistance, so that need to laminate afterwards isn't really needed with a latex print, because it's going to give you the durability you would expect from a digitally printed magnet. The issue is the thickness. 030 magnet is what everybody wants to run, and that exceeds the gap pressure between the gap settings between the printhead carriage height. So Magnum Magnetics, one of our rolled magnet vendors, they actually make a specific magnet material. I believe it's a 015, maybe 020 thickness, that is within specs to be able to run roll to roll on an HP Latex, but at the same time it has a higher pull strength that's equivalent to the 030 pull strength. So that would be the recommended. I've heard in the dark corners of the interweb that people are running 030 magnet on the machine. Would not recommend that. But with the 730, 830, because I had the improved pinch wheel grit roller system, the feed, the back and forth as the material's warming up, as it's cooling and then retracting, the back and forth movement the material has to go through on the roll-to-roll function now happens much better with the 730s, 830s. But stick with 015 or 020. Do not run 030.
And what is that?
Especially if your machine's in warranty. Absolutely do not do it.
What is that pinch roller material made of? Tom, do you know?
Composite rubber?
That's what I thought.
Composite polyethylene.
Polyethylene.
There we
Okay,
go.
there we go.
All right.
All right, cool.
One last thing to all you out there, lots of great questions. Thank you all for attending. Thank you for the great questions. Some more I still haven't gotten to is, again, please reach out to Grimco to do a deeper dive on any of these products to figure out what is best for you. And whatever's best is best, but let's make sure we get it right. And
Okay, awesome.
chances are you're going to need to upgrade your RIP, by the way, when you buy a new printer.
There we go. And so guys, all of the specs for these machines are available at grimco.com. Again, you can reach out to your local sales rep, call us on 1-800 number, 542-9941. Call your local sales rep, say, hey, you can get some more information. I want to get in front of it. I want to see my files ran, whatever it takes. We want to make sure we're pairing you with the right piece of equipment so we can help you grow your business.